Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 50 in our Oxygen Not Included Redux series. This is a pretty special episode because usually when I get to episode 10 in a series, I try to do some kind of recap to show what we've been doing and a tour. Haven't really been doing it as much in this series because there's just a lot of things going on, but I do want to do it now, and it's going to take a little while because I have a lot of things to show. First of which, this is our main colony, and this is the base that we built up over the last 4,000 cycles. Pretty standard. It has a bathroom, has sleeping quarters for up to 20 duplicants. It has a food storage system. This is the deep storage system that I made a long time ago. It runs off of this coolant system. At the time, the best material I had to make it was petroleum. Haven't felt the need to change it to supercoolant because it's not necessary, and it's been working for 4,000 cycles. This side, I have a coolant system that cools the base. It basically just uses a cooling loop that goes around the perimeter of the base and cools everything off in here, and has a loop down here at the bottom that cools the air. And everything in here stays nice and chilly. It's perfect conditions for living in the base. As far as cooling goes, I also have a system that goes around the entire base. If you see this loop, it goes up and down, goes through here to cool off the oxygen that's coming out of our system, and it goes up here. It comes through here to cool the water, and it comes through here to cool this water. And it runs through right here. So this cooling system is the one that is used for our industrial block here. And so what happens is all the really heated machines that we have, the kilns, the metal refineries, they all... Oh, why is somebody exhausted there? He must not be able to make it back. I'll have to look into that. But all these things that generate heat are in here. All the heat gets cooled down by this loop that runs through here and also cools down the turbines up here. And it dumps all of its heat right in through this aqua tuner into this chamber. The metal refineries dump their heat directly into the steam inside that chamber, and the base cooling for this side of the base all goes right in here, and then these steam turbines just eat it all up. Right now they're not running because I don't even have enough heat for them to run, but they eat up the heat and turn it into power, and then that deletes the heat. So then I also have production in here to make there's an oil refinery to make petroleum. I don't really even use this anymore because even though I have it running here to keep a little bit of petroleum here, I have a ton of petroleum. I could get rid of this, but it was there. It's easy, and there's no problems with it, so I left it. But everything is done in here. So I have glass works, I have my molecular forge, I have my plastic processing. It's all in this one section, and it's kept nice and cool. As far as food for this main colony, we have barbecue, and we have Swampy Delights. The barbecue comes from this tiny little system up here that we've gotten shovels that are bred and produce a lot of meat, which is then collected and sent down to be used. I haven't done much work on this system in a while. I was doing some stuff before, but I left it like it is. It's a pretty basic system once you understand it, but basically what happens is the shovel eggs are put into these incubators if we have them. Everything is kind of automated so that when this room is full and it has enough critters above what we need, it sends the automation signal to do certain things. If we need more critters bred, then we open up this system over here so that we can get eggs brought into here, or once the eggs hatch, they get brought into here so that we can raise more shovels. They lay more eggs more quickly in here until the population in here is back up, and then the excess are the excess are dumped into here, and then once we have enough, this gets shut down again. And the way it gets shut down is that this door gets locked because of the automation. I think I have the automation disabled on it right now, which is probably a problem we need to work on, but we haven't really been worried about it because we've been using the Swampy Delights that we get from other places. And that is a food I will show you when we get over to the other side. The other food we produce here is berry sludge, and that is done with bristle blossoms and sleet wheat. The reason we produce it is because it is food that will never spoil. We keep it in here anyway because then we just keep all the food storage in here, but it is the food that we use for our space travel, and that way we don't have to worry about refrigeration in space. Frankly, the food, let me see if I can get a piece of it to bring up. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I want to look at the berry sludge in our index. Let's do it this way. The berry sludge is made using those, and the quality of it is good. It's not the best quality. If we were to get like surf and turf, it's great, so you get an extra morale from it, but it's a lot of work to make surf and turf, whereas the berry sludge is very easy and it never spoils, so I don't even have to worry about storing it in our cold systems. I do have cold systems on both of my main colonies, but I think in the future I may work to switching over so that all we do is produce berry sludge, just to simplify things. We've done enough with other types of food where we don't even need to worry about it. I may continue to produce food using these systems just for fun and store all of it so that we have huge amounts of it, because why not? There's things we may want to do with that later in the future, but I may just switch everybody over to berry sludge. That way everybody's eating a good quality food, and I only have one type to manage. The next thing I want to show you on our main colony is our power system. So our power system is one that we built up over time. It's pretty complicated, but again, once you understand it, it's a fairly simple system. The main thing is that it runs off of our automation. So automation here is pretty straightforward. We have batteries here that, based on the percentage that we have in those batteries, sends out an automation signal. So this one is set to 90 and 70, this one 90-10, 90-30, 90-50. So if we follow the automation lines from those, automation from this one comes down here to our petroleum generators. So they're turned on if the power goes below 70, and then they stay on until we get back up to 90. So pretty much these are always on because we're sticking in that range, and these are running. Our primary source of power is actually our solar panels because it's free. We also want this to run pretty much constantly. In fact, I'm probably going to change this just so that they're always on, because at this point I have so much petroleum. Petroleum generators are a water positive system. So the way you make petroleum is you have water that goes into the oil reservoirs that pumps out crude oil. The crude oil is boiled in one way or another to turn into petroleum, and then the petroleum is fed into our petroleum generators. In effect, you put less water in to make the oil than you get out as polluted water. And so this is a system that creates more water for our base. And since water is the life force that drives the entire base, having these just run constantly is probably a good idea. So I may change that in the future to do that. The other automation, this is 50, 30, and 10. I actually think it's the other way around. But we have natural gas generators, we have hydrogen generators, and we have coal. And they're set up so that if this were to be out, if our solar panel system was not working enough to keep our base powered, and this was not enough to keep it up as well, or we were out of petroleum, or we had it offline because we're working on it or something, it will fire up our natural gas generators when we get down to half power. These will fire out a lot of power and get us back up to where we need to be, but they won't run constantly. And we have a lot of natural gas. Same with hydrogen. That's the next most common thing we have because we get an excess of it from our oxygen system. And so then we we'll run this if we have to. And finally, the last thing we do is we burn off coal. And that's a last-ditch effort. It's not really a renewable source. It is if you're running hatches. I'm not. But it's a way to keep my power on if I'm getting really low. And if these ever turn on, then we have something wrong with the base, for sure. They should never be running. All of these produce, well, some of them produce polluted water, the natural gas generators and the petroleum generators. And there's a system down here to collect the polluted water. But they all produce carbon dioxide, or most of them do. And so that's all just pumped into this room. Then I have these pumps here, which take the carbon dioxide and they pump it through a system here into our storage. And that brings us over, well, we have our battery storage as well. This is where we store a huge amount of power so that we don't have power flickering on and off. This just keeps a lot of power ready to go when we need it because we draw a lot of power. But then our carbon dioxide brings us over to our gas storage system. This system stores carbon dioxide, it stores natural gas, it stores chlorine, it stores hydrogen, it stores polluted oxygen, it stores oxygen, and then I have an empty space in case I ever need to put in gas either that I haven't thought about, or there are some times where I was thinking I might want to be able to pull the gas over so I can change its temperature to play around with it. I haven't ever actually used it, but mostly I've made it there because it has a space. They're all sealed with liquid locks that use oil, and then they use a trick with the oil down here that allows us to infinitely pump gases in here. So if we hover over, we have 25,000 kilograms of hydrogen in every square inside of here. Chlorine is not quite as high because we don't have a renewable source of it. It's just somewhere to dump off our chlorine if we get chlorine from somewhere. Our natural gas is pretty high, almost as high as the hydrogen. Carbon dioxide is also pretty high. In fact, it's probably the highest, 166,000. And then we have our oxygen, which is almost at 40,000. This infinite storage allows us to just dump gases in here and then use them where we need them to go. This is our oxygen production. It produces a crap ton of oxygen and hydrogen, and rather than regulating when this goes on and off, it just runs constantly, and we store the hydrogen and oxygen. That way we have tons of it, we're never going to run out, and we're good. It does have automation on it that I can turn it on and off if I want. I think I do have automation set up. No, I took it off. But at one point I had automation set up that turned it all off when I was running low on water. But I don't run low on water anymore, so it's gone. Then we have our gas superhighway here. A lot of them don't have anywhere to go because I'm not using them. The chlorine, the hydrogen, and the polluted oxygen. I mean, the hydrogen does have a pump that is dedicated to bring it over to our power system, but we don't have anywhere going out into our base where we use it. Oxygen has a lot of spaces where we bring it out. We have some that goes up to our rocket systems. We have 4 lines that come down and go to our base. We have a couple of dedicated lines just to our Atmos suits, and then we have another one that circles around counter heat exchanging with our cooling loop so that the oxygen comes into the base at a very nice temperature and it dumps out into this Atmos suit dock system down here if we ever need people to go in to do work on our cooling systems. And it also somewhere I don't know where it drops oxygen into our base at the moment. Oh, it's down here too. There's 2 here. If we need more oxygen, well, 3. They put in oxygen, which fills up into the base. It's actually open now to the world. At one point I had it sealed and I didn't do anything out here, but now we just fill the whole place up with oxygen because we have it, and why not? Everything runs great. So that's how we keep all that running. I want to show you our boiler systems. Those are what we're currently working on now. This is our old system. We have a boiler down here. It runs off of a geothermal heat system where it's pulling heat out of the magma underground. We have a water boiling system that does the same. These are starting to get all the heat out of this magma. You can see it's spreading and turning into rock. Heat's still going in, but not it will not last forever. This is slowly eating away at itself, which is fine. We had planned that. We thought it would last about 4,000 cycles. We were pretty dead on. What we're doing to fix that, we saw in the last episode, we built a new petroleum generator here that runs off of renewable magma from the volcano. We're still in the process of testing this, and we're going to be building a water boiler in our next episode. So that is both our old and our new boiler. The last thing to show you here on our main colony is our rocket systems. We have a system here that makes liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen, which is used for our rockets. It's all self-contained. It runs off the hydrogen and the oxygen that comes from our storage, which comes from the massive oxygen system we have. We keep this constantly tapped up so that we have oxygen and hydrogen ready to go, so that when rockets land, they automatically fill back up. You can see we do that through a loop here. The loop is kept at a very tiny amount of liquids in, so that we don't have to worry about issues with freezing and cracking of pipes. If you keep the contents very small, then it doesn't matter. It won't crack the pipes. So we just slowly kind of trickle charge our tanks, because we're never really in a situation where we need to get it filled super quickly. But so we have hydrogen going in for our fuel, oxygen going in for our oxidizer, and then we have many different rockets with many different purposes. Still a work in progress. We're doing more here, but that is pretty much everything I wanted to show you on the main colony. This is our water storage that we're going to be converting this into a infinite storage soon. I did want to have a system like this. The problem with these infinite storages is there's always the fear that they're going to fix the bug that makes this happen, and then you're going to log in one day and your base is going to just explode with liquids. Could be a problem. It's also kind of an exploit, so don't always want to use an exploit, but I think I've demonstrated that I can do it without an exploit. It's time to make things more simple. So we're probably going to do that pretty soon. We also have a separate coolant system over here that cools down this entire side for our power spine. So we have power on both the left and right side of the map, and we cool that down so that the power transformers don't heat the base up. And overall, we've kept the base pretty cool for what we do. There's some things down here that some of the liquids and gases that settle down to the bottom heat up. We haven't really nailed it down, but it's pretty good considering we've been running for 4,000 cycles. Well, apparently we have some kind of vent here. Oh, it's because there's a heavy watt conductive joint plate that allows the heat to escape from there. That's something I should fix. It's kind of a frustrating thing that they don't have an insulated heavy watt conductive joint plate, something I think they should add. But this is our gold volcano that we set up to get renewable gold. In the future, we plan to do that with all of our other volcanoes. The aluminum one, that's a carbon one. I don't think we have any other metal ones on this colony, but we will when we get to the other colonies. This is something I definitely want to work on, is adding these in for all of our volcanoes to get renewable resources set up. So that is everything from our main colony here that I wanted to show. I'll come back in a minute and we'll show you our next colony. This is our second colony that we formed, and like the first one, we'll start off in the base. Let's let some things run so you can see people moving around. This is the base that we built on Gorgani after we brought a few people over. Gorgani is our second planetoid, and it's much easier to bring people over here because we have a teleporter. That's how you get a teleporter that goes between the main colony and your second planetoid. So that's how we brought most of the people here. We have 8 duplicants that live here on Gorgani. So we have space for 2 more if we wanted. We have systems here that are very similar to the other side, where we have bathrooms, we have food storage, we have a mess hall area, and then we have an infinite storage system. I didn't show you that on the main colony, so we'll show it here a little bit. But the idea is that everything gets dropped off here into the system. And then over here I have conveyor loaders that distribute those things to where we need them to go. And we also have automatic dispensers here where our duplicants can drop things off. So for example, if I were to sweep this piece here, both our auto sweeper and Jefferson threw it in here so that it drops it down here. This just makes it so everything's stored in one spot. It doesn't cause a lot of lag for our system. And also, it's stored underwater. That way, if any of the things are things that off-gas, they won't off-gas because they're underwater. And so we can just kind of store everything here. We do need to be careful sometimes if we have really hot materials. If we store it in there, it'll boil the water off, and then we have problems. Let me fix this problem real quick. Who has radiation problems? Oh, it's just because Lincoln's out in space. It's fine. Back to Gorgani. We also have a few other systems in here that aren't quite finished. We have a lot of incubators, none of which are really running right now, but that's for our different productions. This base was set up specifically for raising critters because we were doing the achievements to get all the critters. A lot of them we don't need anymore. We don't use them anymore. We may be taking them out in the future when we do some remodeling here on Gorgani. But there are a few systems here that I want to show you. The food mainly here is run from these bog buckets. Bog buckets are used to make the Swampy Delights. These are currently not running because I don't have any irrigation because I'm out of polluted water. Something I should probably fix. But I haven't really had the issue. We have plenty of food. We're getting enough that it's growing to keep us sustainable, as well as sending food to the main colony. I don't know that we are right now, but I think we sent so much of it that we don't need to. So we send, we do send them over. So I guess there's a it's been a long time since I set this up. I probably have priority where we get enough in storage here, and then excess is brought down and shipped off. I don't actually even know how I do it anymore. This is also, this system here is supposed to be an infinite fish system. It provides us with the seafood that we need to make surf and turf. Right now we can't make surf and turf because we are out of enough cooked seafood to make it. So I don't know that this is working great. We may have to revamp that if we want to do that. But again, I think that in this playthrough, I'm kind of done with dealing with all that systems. I'm going to make a planet that has a really good source for berry sludge and use it to provide food to all of my planets. And then we'll just not even worry about it. We also have a system for making oil on Gorgani because we don't have an oil well system down here. So either we have to pump oil in, which I didn't really want to do because we don't need a lot of it over here, or we have this system. So what I did is I shipped over Slickster eggs. They get incubated. We have incubators up there that keep the population steady. The Slicksters provide us with oil. We also get some of their variants that provide us with other things, like petroleum, which makes kind of a mess, but it's fine. This allows us to pump out crude oil and petroleum when we need it. I only really use it here for doing things like liquid locks, and I don't even use it that much here at all. I did here because I needed one that was really temperature stable, but at this point I can ship over super coolant and do it that way. There's different options. So this also has a power spine just on the one side because the bases, the second and the rest of the asteroids are much smaller. So I didn't need as much power on both sides because I just didn't have as many systems. So this is also set up with a coolant system. Just like our main colony, this one actually uses ethanol because I have a system here where I convert lumber from these trees into ethanol, and I can use the ethanol all over the place. Again, I could probably swap this out with supercoolant now and get it a little more efficient, but there's no need to fix things that aren't broken. The petroleum generators here are what is supposed to be producing me with most water. It looks like I don't have these running right now, maybe? I should look into this and figure out what my problems are. I think I it might be an issue where I just have so much solar power that I don't need this. And again, this is a system where I should set it up so that this runs just constantly, because I have a source for a lot of ethanol now. I can produce more than I use, and I should just run it 100% so that I can get the water from it. It's probably what I'm going to make some changes in between episodes to do. When I set this up, this only ran when I needed it to, because I didn't have enough solar power to power the base. And so I wanted to reserve as much ethanol so that when I did have shortages in power, I had some backup so my base didn't, have brownout issues. Now I could run this, and I have such a backlog of fuel that I could run it for a long time. Another thing I could set up is an infinite liquid storage here, because here I use reservoirs to keep a backlog. And I could make it so that I can just keep producing it rather than having these systems shut off, which would mean that I can continue to produce more and more fuel. I'm pretty sure I could set it up as a positive system where I gain more than I use. Just some things to work on. The other thing I want to work on here, aside from setting up volcanoes where I can get renewable metals. I did set up a cobalt one on this side. There's also an iron volcano and a gold volcano. I think that I might have one more. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'd like to set those up so that they're renewable. But the main thing is I have this radiation biome, and I've never done anything with the radiation. I didn't think I was going to get into it in this playthrough because we were just trying to get the achievements done. But now that we're progressing a little farther, might be a good thing to tap into the radiation biome and tame some of these beta hives, learn how to do it, or beta hives, I guess they're called, so that we can get radiation. That way we can get into rockets that use the technology for radiation powered rockets, and we can use radiation for power, mostly just for fun. We don't need it for our playthrough, but that's the point. We can move into new technologies and learn how to do things. Like I said, the power for this base is run mostly off solar, and then we have a backup petroleum that runs off the ethanol from our distillers. This is a very smaller version of the system we have over there. Carbon dioxide is pumped out from the petroleum generators if it gets too full. It goes down. I guess right now it just exits out because I don't have very much of it. It drops down to the bottom of the base, and then it's handled down here. Excess carbon dioxide is dumped into this room. Carbon dioxide is eaten by the slicksters, turned into oil. Anything excess that we can't handle is then shipped off through our gas system over to the main colony where it's handled and processed. Oh, this is a problem. That's something we definitely need to fix. Our storage for gases here got carbon dioxide in it. Probably because of this guy, maybe? I'm not sure. But that's something we definitely need to fix. We have different gases in here that shouldn't be in here. And it's causing problems for our system here. Something to fix. We do have a rocket bay here. I never finished it, haven't used it. It's just so that if we wanted to, we could land a rocket here. We'll probably finish doing that in the future because we will want to be able to ship things over in an easier fashion. But for most things, we just send them through the teleporters because this is a colony that has them. So I don't know if we'll ever even use the rocket system. But I did at the time want to have a rocket bay on every alternate planetoid. The last one I'm going to show you in detail, because we haven't really done much on anything else, is Watano. Watano needs a lot of work. A lot of things are broken right now because nobody's been here. It's been an empty colony. But the purpose of this colony was to come over and get some things, but also we are collecting all this water. So we have an infinite storage system here. It's been pumping this water from here. The water was all the way up to the top. We have pumped it into storage, so we have a ton of water and polluted water in this system, and we're going to set up some things to do with that. The main idea here is eventually I want to have a manned planetoid where we have a system that produces rocket fuel, where we have a place where our rockets could land here, refuel with liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, and send them off. The main reason again for that is because we can. goal was to set this up so that I could land the new rocket here when it came in next time and dismantle this. I forgot to remove some ladders that are blocking that. So when the rocket comes in, it'll have to land here. We'll have to send somebody over to fix that, relaunch it and land it again. Not a big deal. But then we're going to work on making this a sustainable base, which means putting in a living quarters where our duplicants can live and start bringing over a couple of duplicants, which also means we're going to have to set up rocket systems that can handle more than one duplicant. That way we can have a duplicant, bring several over, land them here. Eventually the goal is to have duplicants living on every planetoid in the system. We do have other ones we've done a few things on, like Moomial. We just went here to tame the gassy moo. We could come here to do more with them if we wanted to. I don't know if we will, but we probably will set up some kind of sustainable base here just because we want one on every planetoid. Snowy we visited, but only to come over to get sleet wheat because we needed more. We will do some work here. There's some volcanoes we can use. Grosselin is a swamp asteroid. Haven't explored it yet. I would really like to do that. I think that'd be fun. Rockazon is kind of the same thing. I don't even know what lays beneath here. And Obsidiol is a magma planet, which will be really hard to deal with and make for some fun challenges to figure out. But those are the things we have to look forward to. For now, we're going to go back to perfecting the systems we have here. And like I said, in our next episode, we're going to be adding in the other half of our new boiler system, which is going to have a water boiler that is contained in this area and a coolant system up here that allows us to cool all the water before we pump it into storage. And that should keep us going for quite a long time, at least another 4,000 cycles and beyond, because hopefully this magma system works the way I want it to, and it will be renewable, and we'll be able to use the heat forever. So hope you enjoyed watching this tour of the base. We'll get back to doing some more work in the next one, and we will see you then. Bye-bye.